Miko Peled, Israeli author and activist, joins me now. Miko, the Israeli public and their political leaders seem oddly sanguine about an ISIS al-Qaeda nest next door in Damascus. Are they right to be so relaxed about that? Or do they know something about ISIS, al-Qaeda, and the alphabet soup of fanaticism that we don't know?
Thank you for having me on the show again, George. I think that what Israeli politicians and what Israel likes in general is the idea of of chaos. So there's instability. It's not really clear who's in charge, and they feel that they can take more chunks of Syria and can control it. So they've always liked chaos in the Arab world. They always like to see instability in the countries that surround them. It makes them look better, and it also allows them to do whatever they like because there's nobody that is, in fact, standing against them. So I think that's what they find attractive, and that's why they like the latest developments in Syria.
But the idea that Israel and ISIS al-Qaeda are, if you like, ideological enemies is false, isn't it? Because ISIS and al-Qaeda have never as much as broken a window in Israel or belonging to Israel, while slaughtering thousands of, tens of thousands of Muslims and others abroad and in Syria.
Well, again, I don't think that Israel has an ideology that guides it one way or the other. As long as they can be in control, as long as the surrounding area, there's chaos and they can take advantage of it, they're happy. They don't, I think when we look at the allies that Israel has had over the years of its existence, from apartheid South Africa to dictators in Latin America and so on and so forth, they don't really care about the quality of the partner. All they care about is what's in it for them. And if they can accomplish their very narrow-minded, myopic objectives, then they're happy. So right now, more chaos, more instability, a lack of clarity in Syria, and they're already, as you know, they're already taking chunks of Syrian land.
Yeah, I mean, what's stopping them taking more? Nothing at the moment. The world is not even being told by our media that these land grabs, equivalent to 3 times the size of the Gaza Strip, have already happened. And so there's no condemnation of any kind, and certainly no one physically in a position to stop them, even if the new authorities in Damascus were of a mind to, which I think is extremely unlikely, but even if they were, they would not be able to. So what's stopping Netanyahu from occupying, 1/3 of Syria? What's stopping him from capturing Damascus? He could drive in unarmored vehicles.
Well, it's funny that you say that because there was a video on social media that's doing quite well of an Israeli soldier inside Syria pretending to hitch a ride with an Israeli military truck going to Damascus. So I think these are things that they're definitely thinking about. Again, I think the biggest concern that most people have about Syria is that it will be fragmented and cut into pieces. And Israel will definitely take a chunk of that. There's no question about that. And again, I have no doubt that they are already planning an excursion, if not all the way to Damascus, then certainly getting as close to Damascus as possible. And we've seen Israel do this in Lebanon. It's nothing new. And they've been, I think, really dreaming of the day when they can actually see their tanks and their military personnel on the outskirts of Damascus. I definitely think that this is a realistic possibility.
Now, it's all been tremendous change for the Palestinian struggle, hasn't it? It doesn't, of course, negate the Palestinian desire for statehood, more or less universally felt amongst Palestinians. But the means of achieving it have now radically narrowed. The strategic defeat of Israel is literally no longer possible. Iran has been knocked back into its box. Syria is no longer available for the supply and resupply of the resistance in Lebanon, and the means of delivering weapons from Iran to Gaza and to the West Bank have been greatly interfered with, haven't they? So is this a time when some Palestinian voices might emerge saying that it's the end of the era of armed struggle for Palestinian statehood and that we need to look at other ways?
Well, I think it's obvious as we look at the 70, 80-year-old occupation of Palestine and the creativity in which Palestinians have come up with different ways to resist. As I'm sure you know, the larger portion, the lion's share of Palestinian resistance has not been armed resistance. The armed resistance has been a small portion relative to all the other ways. So I'm sure Palestinians are going to find other ways to resist, whether it's through civil society, whether it's through people in the streets around the world that support the Palestinian cause, whether through an institution like ours here in Washington, D.C., Palestine House of Freedom. These are all unarmed methods of pushing forward the agenda of a liberation of Palestine. And I think that's really where the focus is going to be. I don't know that anybody ever seriously thought that the military option was going to be the one that will free Palestine. Perhaps it was going to be a segment of it. But I think the vast majority of Palestinians, and really what we've seen Palestinians adapt very quickly to the reality. I mean, this is not the first time that we've seen crises like this around Palestine, and Palestinians adapt very, very quickly and come up with, newer, better, more ingenious ways to resist and to push forward the liberation of their country and their people. So again, this might be a setback militarily, but I don't think it's going to be. I mean, the situation is severe, granted. I mean, the situation in Palestine is beyond words. It is so horrifying. But I'm confident that the movement around the world, plus the determination of the Palestinian people united, will be able to overcome this and push for a free Palestine sooner rather than later.
Of course, this very evening, Netanyahu could open the gate of Rafah and drive out the remaining Palestinians, those that haven't been killed, those that haven't been amputated and can no longer walk and don't have a wheelchair, could drive out the remaining Palestinians into the Sinai. Nothing would stop them. Nobody would stop them. Many politicians in the West would cheer them on. The new chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee in the US Congress, across the road from you, is a uniform-wearing member of the Israel Defense Force. He proudly wears his Israeli army uniform into the US Congress. And there's an interregnum now. Trump isn't in. No one knows what his view would be on it anyway, but might not Netanyahu sense this as the moment to finish Gaza once and for all?
Who knows? I mean, we the only thing we know about Trump and the people that are coming into power with him is that they're not predictable. But I'm of the opinion that the push to liberate Palestine needs to be ongoing, uniform, and completely disregard what is happening in terms of the politics here in the United States or the Israeli politics. The push has to be consistent. It has to be formidable. And I think that, and I truly believe that once we change the conversation, it's not going to matter who sits in these positions. As I'm sure you recall, one day it was okay to support apartheid in South Africa. The next day, nobody was able to say that in public, that they support apartheid anymore. So I think when the change comes, it's going to come across the board, and what their personal opinions on the issue is not going to matter. And that's really the objective I think we should be aiming for, to create a reality where the conversation is so decidedly pro-Palestine, is so decidedly pro-justice and freedom, that all these clowns and their uniforms and their masquerading around here will no longer be relevant. And like I said, we don't know. There's a great deal of a sense of unpredictability with this new regime that's coming into Washington. But we do know that there's a whole army of freshman congressmen coming in who, as I understand it, don't even know what the word occupation means. Probably couldn't find Palestine on the map. So in a way, it's an opportunity for us to present that to them, to present them with the talking points, to present them with the education, if you will, that they need in order to make the right decisions when the time comes.
Now, the last time we spoke, Netanyahu's career looked in real serious jeopardy. It doesn't look that way tonight. This has been a dazzling few weeks for him. The destruction of the military political leadership of Hezbollah, the conquering of Syria, not only the solidifying of control over the Golan, but actual amplification, expansion of that. Israel is much larger than it was the last time I spoke to you, and its leader much stronger. Might this be a time for him to go for early elections, try to win and put to bed the legal threats to him?
I think what's interesting about him is right now it almost seems like he's using the legal issue, the so-called legal threat, as an advantage. He shows up in court, he's very relaxed, he's very calm, public opinion supports him. Those who don't support him are really an insignificant minority, an insignificant opposition. I don't think he'd want to rock the boat with elections because he's doing fine. And why rock the boat? He's doing well, and I'm sure when the next elections come up, unless he's challenged by someone like Ben Gvir, which I doubt, I think his seat is safe. So you're right, he is doing very, very well. He is the only real candidate for prime minister within Israeli politics. I think. I don't think anybody matches him in their skill and in their ability to win elections. Last time Trump was in office, he gave Netanyahu one of the best gifts any Israeli prime minister ever received, which is the sovereignty over Jerusalem and moving the embassy to Jerusalem, and the recognition of the Golan Heights as Israeli territory. Who knows what Trump might be giving him this time? So yes, you're right. He's riding high. He's doing very well, all the way to the point that even his legal issues he's learned how to use the legal issues to his advantage. And so, this is the reality in Israeli politics still, that he is the one man that can hold it together, and I'm sure he will continue to hold it together.
Well, good luck with the new fleet of Congress people that you're going to have to deal with. Let's hope they're better than the last ones. Thank you, Miko Peled, Israeli author, activist, and campaigner, now based in the United States with the Palestinian Freedom House. Thank you so much for being with us.